we're dominating the German market when it comes to luggage storage, helping as many tourists and travelers or people with baggage as possible. Yeah, that's where I see us in 2 years.
Founding a company is more than a marathon. I think it's an ultra marathon, always. I don't invest in CVs, I invest in...
We've built it, funded it, failed it, and done it again. And we're sharing every lesson so you don't have to learn them the hard way. Welcome to Future Decoded.
This is a podcast where we are sharing all the things that are usually happening behind the curtain. My name is Julia. I'm a professor of entrepreneurship here at Code. I'm an economist and philosopher by training, but an entrepreneur by heart with more than 10 years of experience as a CEO in multiple businesses. And I'm really happy to be here today with Roland, my dear colleague at Code University.
Thank you. My name is Roland Fassauer. I'm professor at Code University. And in my job beside it, I'm an investor. I have about 75 investments in early stage startups. I'm just in the process of setting up a venture fund. Yeah, I'm very, very happy to hear where we attract the best potential talents from the world to make great startups out of them.
Yeah, my name is Benjamin Kapell. I think I'm the first guest here at the podcast. I'm in my orientation semester and built my first startup when I was 16, and now I'm 20 building my second startup.
Lovely. So what brought you to Code University at the first place?
Yeah, that's a good sort of beginning question. So to be honest, I started my studies at a different university or a different school here in Berlin. It was also a small finance school, but quickly saw that it was too theoretical for me. And I really liked this practical approach that Code offered. And that's the main reason that pulled me here, that for one, you get to pursue your startup and you get a degree with it. And for me, in my mind, that was wow. Yeah.
So, and what are you guys doing?
Yeah, so at the moment we're building Keeper. I don't know if you've ever been to the Berliner Hauptbahnhof or the Berlin Central Station or any big... Yeah, and there they have these coin-based lockers where you can leave your luggage. And what we practically want to do is modernize it. So you don't have to put in your coins anymore or get this physical...
No coins.
No
coins.
coin.
In Germany.
Yeah, exactly. But so what we want to do is practically modernize it and put it in places where tourists, travelers, and later also festival goers are really at. Yeah.
So it's not only for central stations, it's for touristic places?
Correct, yeah, because we figured that most tourists aren't always at the Berlin Central Station, or any central station for that matter, right? They go travel, they are, for example, here in Berlin at Brandenburger Tor or Potsdamer Platz, and we really want to be at the places where tourists are really at, and not only at the places where the Deutsche Bahn thinks they are. Yeah.
Okay, and what makes your company different to what we usually see in Berlin in the ecosystem? So it's a hardware company.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I didn't come up with this idea based off of the fact that I don't want to be the next AI wrapper or the next AI tool, more based off of the fact that I experienced this problem firsthand. I experienced this problem myself. And I just thought to myself, okay, if no one is going to offer the solution, then my team and I will. So it wasn't really a protest to say, no, I'm going to fight the AI war, but more, I experienced the problem and I'm going to offer the solution. Yep.
Okay.
So what places are you thinking are the right places to have the storage boxes? I know storage boxes in general are a huge business. You have all these really large cabinets where you can store your furniture. This is a great business. Making it smaller is a nice idea, but where are the right places to be for this kind of solution?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. So for one, our initial idea was to target tourists, right? So anyone or any tourist coming to Berlin wanting to see the city with a big suitcase. But then we thought about it, anyone with a bag or suitcase or even shopping bags wants to leave them somewhere. So what we're going to first do is target private properties. So for example, museums, co-working spaces, malls, anywhere where someone has baggage or their shopping bags and want to leave them somewhere. Yeah, so that would be our first sort of stop to partner locations and cooperate with them. Yeah.
And who is paying? At the end the customers paying? And do you rent the places, or is there a kind of cooperation between the places?
Yeah, so what we do is practically a pay-per-time model. So I think you said yourself, you were at the Berlin Central Station, you put in the coins, and then you usually have your locker for 24 hours. And if you think about it, no one needs to put their suitcase there for 24 hours, right? It's, let's say on average, let's agree maybe 5 hours. So what we do is a pay per time model. So the traveler or the user really pays only for the time that they use in the end. Think of like a Lime scooter or a Miles car. That's sort of our inspiration. But yeah, to answer your question, in the end, it's the tourist or the user paying.
And it's really a global problem. So
Absolutely.
early this year, I've been to New York.
Yeah.
And I was really fucked up by finding a locker on Penn Station. Because the only locker system they have is offered by the Amtrak.
Yep.
And it is a $30 per baggage per day.
Yeah.
And you can only pay by American credit card.
Oh.
So, and I'm using Apple Pay, so
Right.
I had no American credit card. So I had to go to the next grocery store, buy myself an instant credit card, which cost me another €5.
Yeah.
And then I had my overhead locker baggage and one smaller
Right.
baggage. So it was $65 in the end, and for 2 hours of strolling around around Penn Station, New York. That was like the most ridiculous amount of money I've ever paid for lockers.
Yeah, well, I can guarantee you don't have to do that in the future again. Yeah, I mean, of course, that's a problem we see as well, right? People overpaying for luggage storage. I will say, maybe even for the future, there is a startup started in San Francisco. They're called Bounce. Maybe even in the long run or long-term view, they could be considered our competitor. What they do is quite interesting. They do a B2B2C model, right? So they partner, maybe even here in Berlin, with Spätis, like late night shops, or other stores, and then you can bring your suitcase there, and then they leave it in some back room.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, cool. You know, you just leave it there. In practice, I don't know if you have a Rimowa suitcase, but
I have.
Yeah, I think most Rimowa suitcase owners wouldn't be so comfortable to just leave it there in a store. And in addition to that, what we in the long run want to do is be accessible 24/7, right? So these shops, they're somehow binded to opening and closing times. And what we want to do, even if you leave Berghain at 4 a.m. in the morning, your backpack or your suitcase is safe with us. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and people have funny workarounds for this problem. I just went out some months ago with a guy, and his solution was renting a Miles car, putting his bag inside.
Yeah.
He's standing there for 2 hours while he was eating with me.
I usually go to luxury hotels and just ask very friendly at the lobby.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for sure, like.
But you really have to go for 5-star and superior hotels, because the other ones, they don't offer any services anymore at the desk.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I don't want to say that hotels don't accept your baggage. You know, some do.
Yeah, but not all.
Exactly. Not
It's
all.
always a luck.
Yeah, and I mean, let's take a real case scenario. You know, the nice hotels maybe are in Kudamm, right? Kurfürstendamm. Let's just say for the hell of it. So you have to check out, right? And your plane leaves in 8 hours. You want to see Mitte. You want to see Alexander.
You want to go back to Kudamm.
Exactly. So that's where we come to play. Yeah.
Then what was your kind of magic moment? So definitely the Amtrak bill opened my mind for this issue, but what opened yours?
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty funny and interesting story. So I first founded my first company when I was 16, and it was a B2B sneaker reselling company. I don't know if
I know that one.
You know, I don't know if you know, but practically what I used to do is buy and sell these limited sneakers. It started obviously off as B2C, and then I always scaled it B2B. And the main reason I even founded this company in the first place was because my girlfriend used to live in Hamburg at the time, and I was born and raised here in Berlin. And then every Friday I would go and see her. The first 2 or 3 times, I always asked my mom, Mom, can you pay the ICE tickets? And then by like the 4th time, she said, Benny, you have to find your own job. I don't care if it's standing at Edeka behind the counter or doing anything else, but you have to figure out a way. Long story short, so what we would do is I would go on Fridays to her place. Saturdays would sort of be our 2 halves day, I'll just call it. So the first half, we would only buy sneakers and limited clothing, right? So we would have so many bags, like you couldn't even think. And then the second half, we would call it sort of the fun part. And the transition from the first half to the second half was to use the Hamburg Central Station lockers to leave my.
And then coming back from Reeperbahn and then going back home in the middle of the night.
Tell me about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't
Oh
it
my
wasn't a great
goodness.
solution, but that real eye opener. Yeah, I mean, the real eye opener then was when I was putting in like my 10th bag, like stuffing it into the locker, putting in the coins, and then I looked next to me, and the woman next to me obviously lost her key. And she was all frustrated, going to the DB security saying, "Oh shit, like I lost my key. Yeah, sorry, this is going to take a while." And in that moment, I was like, "Come on, like we here in Germany can definitely do better." And that was like my Amtrak moment. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And who is with you doing this?
yeah. So actually, quite funny story. So the main reason I even started this idea is thanks to code, right? So at my old university, I wasn't really happy. So I made the transition. And at Code, you have to go through this admissions process and you have to pitch at the admissions day. And I didn't want to pitch my sneaker business, right? That's not sexy, you know? So what I did...
But you can make a hell lot of money out of it.
Yeah, now the market sort of crashed and everything. But so long term, it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, so I pitched this idea at the admissions day, and for the people that don't know how the admissions process works, so everyone sort of pitches collectively, and then you decide as a group to work on one project for the rest of the day. And lucky enough, my project got chosen with this locker storage alternative, and that was the sort of click moment where I said, aha, there is something there. You know, the fact that people say, no, like I would rather want to work on this luggage storage than my own idea. Long story short, that's where I actually met my co-founder, Leon, at the admissions day. And yeah, fast track a few months later, Code started in February. He was super thrilled to hear that I'm continuing this idea and just asked, yeah, can I join? So, yeah.
Cool. So you're two guys building this.
Yeah.
So, well, how are the responsibilities split?
Yeah. So if you do want to say, like at the current stage, what we're doing right now is we're for one talking to investors, because I would love to say that we could bootstrap this idea. I'm afraid we can't. And the other is, of course, the partner locations. As I said to Roland, you know, we're first targeting partner locations, let it be malls, museums, co-working spaces. So I'm more on the investor side, right? So I'm targeting more investors, business angels specifically, pitching to them, sending them my pitch deck and talking to them exclusively. And what Leon is doing, talking to the partner locations. Maybe I could already go into one of the challenges that we're facing right now. So the investors, of course, they want to see traction. You know, what we've seen or what we've heard oftentimes before, if I had a penny for every time I heard it, I'd be rich. But is that, yeah, great idea, but come back to me when you have more traction. You know, that's what we hear often, and I get it. You know, it's an interesting idea. And from the partner location side, they don't want to be considered, in German, the Versuchskaninchen. You know, they want to be able to have some sort of security. So what we're doing right now is we're just pitching to everyone we can, and everyone that shows the slightest amount of interest, we hamster them for ourselves, and yeah, are in very close contact with them. No.
I would be interested, since it's a hardware business, how is the hardware looking? Since I only do software, so it's very interesting for me to see it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, like in the core product of it, it is hardware, you know, but we're still offering our app, you know, so without the software part, the hardware wouldn't work. But I think what you can imagine is this big sort of box, like the DHL, like package stations. And what we do is we add a 1.60 m LED screen to both sides. So we have a dual revenue stream. So for one, the usage of the lockers, but then alternatively also we can rent out the LED screen as advertising space. You know, but that's, I think, what you can imagine it with 21 sort of compartments ranging from 3 sizes, so S, M, and L. S being for backpacks, M for carry-on, and L for a check-in suitcase. So we're there for everyone's needs. Yeah.
And is there any kind of regulation, or could this be any kind of box and you place it somewhere?
I mean, of course, there are some regulations. You know, it can't just be just any box. Like, there are definitely regulations when it comes to it, specifically when you put it onto the public properties. So yeah, we are also in close contact with the city of Berlin, but also the city of Munich to build the product with them. What's truly important for us is that we don't sit in some back back room here at Code and philosophize of what this product could look like, but that we really go out and talk to the partner locations, talk to the customers, what, for one, on the customer side, what features do they want to see, but also on the partner side, yeah, like how can they actually imagine this cooperation? So yeah, to answer your question, from a private location side, there's much less regulations than on a public space side. Yeah.
So I would love to go a bit deeper into how does it look like founding a company and studying
Sure.
code
Yeah.
again. But before that, I am really curious about the public view on your idea, because I know that the lockers in the train stations are quite well observed because they are often used as dead post boxes or for drugs and other stuff. And so how do you make sure that the public interest is served with your idea as well? So I definitely see the private interest, and particularly the one that is in line with law.
Yeah.
But I also see some opportunities for misusing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, of course, this is a case that, let it be the DHL boxes, the Amazon boxes, the DB train station lockers, these aren't necessarily the safest boxes when it comes down to it. So what we would do, or what we've thought about, is to not only consider this a business case, but to also consider it a research project. Actually developing new technology in order, for example, I mean, let's think worst case scenario for a second. You said drugs, right? Let's say someone puts in drugs. What if someone puts in their dog? And even worse, what if someone puts in their kid? If a kid suffocates in our locker, that's end game for us. So what we're doing right now is we're developing a technology in order to, use a microphone which is AI trained in that sense, to be able to detect if there's a dog or a kid, and then we get the alert. So what we're doing is not only creating some basic metal box, but really creating technology behind it as well. So that's why I find it very important to say we're a blend of software and hardware in that sense. Yeah.
Are you working with scientific research institutes on that, or?
We will in the future. Yeah, I mean, it's on our scope for sure, but right now we're 2 people, and our scope right now is to get our MVP out as fast as possible. But it's definitely, we're in talk with research departments. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, how do you get it all in parallel? Studying here and at the same time founding a startup? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the main reason why I came to Code in the first place, because I can do both. Like even in my orientation semester now, I have a different orientation semester project than my startup, but they sort of go hand in hand. And that's one of the main things that I love about Code, is that I can, and I think I can say this on camera, I've talked to you with my team, and I've talked to you with my team, and that's just one thing that I can't find at any other real university. So to answer your question, how do I balance it? Because Code allows me to, and Code really supports me in the process of it. I wish I would have came here doing my first startup with 16, even though it's a much smaller project. But to just have this guidance really helps a lot. Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you think of yourself like 4 years ago, finding your first company, and look at yourself today, what would you advise yourself now, knowing more about founding a company?
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. So like at my old university, I had to go through a 3-month internship, and most of my colleagues did it here in Berlin. But when I was doing my first startup, I had a lot to do with China. So I did my own Chinese manufacturing. So I thought to myself, okay, these 3 months I'm going to spend in China. I'm going to do an internship there. So that's where I spent last year throughout June to September. Was it a real startup environment? Absolutely not. It was quite corporate. But one thing my German boss did say to me is immer mitnehmen. So always take it with you. Any opportunity you see, immer mitnehmen. And that just stuck with me. And that's one advice that I would give my 16-year-old self, is to just seize every opportunity you can. Go to the events, like that moment immer mitnehmen. So always take it. Even clicked here, like at the code info day, you know, like I thought to myself, all right, like I have a university, why am I making this big switch? But to just seize the moment and to just say yes, that's one thing that I would definitely advise the younger self.
And what does your normal day look like? Presume it's not a 9 to 5
No,
day.
no. I mean, and to be honest, it used to be, you know, and it's quite interesting because like at my old university, it was very normal that I would have like a 2-hour day. I would wake up late. I would go home, I don't know, at 3 p.m. and I would be done. You know, like I would have a headache. I would go home with a stuffed nose, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? And now I'm here at Code, and my days start early in the morning and they go up until late. And I've been here now for 2 months and I can't feel any better. You know, like I really feel the energy. So to answer your question, days are long, but I'm not complaining. You know, like this is exactly what I wanted from the start. Yeah.
So your parents are happy with your choice too. Yeah?
Absolutely. They were.
They have been forcing you for 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Graduate school.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my parents are definitely happy because if I can be honest, like in school, like I really never was a good student. And I mean, like I was fine, you know, like I always got by, but the teachers always, you know, ask my parents, like, what is going to happen with
There's
this
more
kid?
to him.
Exactly. And they're happy to see that sort of come alive here, you know, like they see what Code is doing with me, and in a positive way, you know, of course they sometimes say to me, Ben, it's Easter, turn off the laptop, you know, like you don't have to be working on Easter Sunday, but my mind is always with the startup, you know, that's just the reality of it. But yeah, all in all, they're very happy with how I'm doing. Yeah.
And your startup is quite young, still quite young, but are there major mistakes you may have done, may have could avoid it, or something like this, something big learnings?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you said it well. Like the startup is now 2 months old. Started here at Code. And I think what I would do next time differently is choose more wisely who my team is going to consist of. So if I can be honest, like the team started off as 4 people. And then based off of personal reasons or whatever, we then decided to split the group, and then Leon and I continue the idea. So yeah, that I would definitely do differently next time, to choose more wisely who I'm actually going to work with and not just take everyone who likes the idea, you know, so to actually think about who do I need and who is going to help me bring this idea forward with my vision. Yeah. So that's, I think, one mistake I did, but quickly also learned how to make it into a positive result. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something Code is providing an environment where you can try this team building stuff out without having an outside startup already. That's quite a good chance to test it here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And if you could make a wish, what would you wish Code to support you with more, or to do less?
If I could make a wish, I mean, like a realistic wish or unrealistic wish?
Well, both.
I mean, like,
If you can dream it, you can do it. So it
yeah,
can be quite unrealistic.
yeah. I mean, like an unrealistic wish is like in the end, we all are living for the first time, right? Do I know what I'm doing? No, you know, and that shouldn't come across as like as if I'm being irresponsible, you know. But in the end of it, we're all doing this for the first time. So an unrealistic wish would be like to give me a blueprint on how it's all supposed to be done. But then again, that's not how reality works. You know, it's like a wave, you know, or a roller coaster. It goes up and down. I think a more realistic wish could be more guidance when it really gets hard. You know, like if I'm stuck with people saying the idea is shit, or like it's not going to go well economically, to not just say that, but to also then help come up with the solution. I think that would be something where I would say, wow, that would make a change. That would make a positive difference. Yeah.
So when you look at the Code infrastructure, we just opened up the new House of Entrepreneurship here at Code, which is a kind of community space for all the entrepreneurs. Did you already feel a difference, like working in the environment with other founding teams?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like I have to admit, with the House of Entrepreneurship, we specifically didn't register for it because we thought, okay, like other teams maybe need the space more. Like we get by over Slack. But yeah, regarding the energy, for sure, I've seen it. Like the last 2 months, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in any other university or in high school. This startup like feeling you can't really describe, you just have to be there. And if you really embrace yourself in it, you'll be a part of it too. And it's just really vibrant energy and positive energy. Everyone wants to make a positive change. So yeah, I have seen that for sure, and also the way that code really integrates the project into the university themselves. I mean, for example, here we have the lockers. You know, Tamas came to me and said, Ben, let's maybe consider a way that you can take out these shitty number locks and put in your smart locks so that any Code University student can pre-reserve already their locker. So yeah, so that's definitely a way.
Interesting. We can be your first customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're
And your lab.
yeah, yeah, 2-in-1, absolutely. Yeah.
Something that I would dig a bit deeper into. So the podcast is called Future Decoded. So how to decode the future from the perspective of a 20-year-old one. So like, what do you think our future will look like if you could kind of code it today?
Yeah. So obviously the trend on the one hand we see is that it's super tech heavy, right? That everyone is going to go into the AI direction and everyone is just going to stay in their own labs and code on Claude Code. I see it a little differently. I feel like the more the people are hooked to their tablets, the more physical interaction is actually needed. And that's also actually one of the main reasons why I'm doing this and not the next AI wrapper. Because I feel like in the future, people want to be brought more together. They want to be brought more outside and not just sit in front of their computer and talk with an AI or an LLM. So I would actually go a different route than to say we're all going to find the next software startup. What I see like in the far future is actually a future where people come more together rather than separate themselves. Yeah.
Okay, so we're in an interface at the moment, in the intermediate phase between this kind of like post-COVID, we are all just addicted to our screens, and then like getting out again.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, like I didn't want to
doing something physical again.
Absolutely, and I didn't want to diss any AI startup at Code because I know that there's a few, but yeah, I mean, AI startups are going to exist. You know, like there's no doubt about that, and they are going to change and shape the future as we know it. But for me, my main motivation is not just to say, okay, because it's a trend, I'm gonna go with it. For me, it's very clear. I've seen this problem firsthand, and I want to offer the solution. You know, so yeah, AI startups are going to be successful, and they're also going to run the future. Like there's definitely trends and prognosis, to that. But it's not in my scope. Yeah.
And what are you thinking are next steps with Keeper?
Yeah, so the next steps, I sort of teasered it a little bit that we, on the one hand, are targeting investors, on the other, partner locations. So I think the next steps is to close our pre-seed round, and then with that, really launch off. We're maybe one step back. We are currently developing our prototype here for the Code University. We bought a used locker off of eBay 2 weeks ago, took out the old bad locks and are now replacing it with our smart locks so that Code University students can use it. So that's the short-term next goal. Maybe a little bit further, our long-term goal is to close our pre-seed and really to get this thing going.
It's not possible to bootstrap this because of the hardware requirements and the regulations and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, sure, I think we could bootstrap it. Like one sort of idea I had is not to have a pre-seed round of let's say in this case like 250K, but to maybe just fund enough to finance the first 5 lockers, you know, and to not think, okay, we have to finance the first 40 lockers, but to maybe just get our foot in the door. maybe I've talked enough, but I would like to hear your guys' opinion on that. So one idea I had, because many investors, they want to see traction, right? They don't just want to be sold an idea, they want to be sold a product that maybe even ideally already exists.
Yeah, bad luck. So 2 years ago, there was always funding without a product,
Yeah.
without a revenue stream, but today you have to have it.
Exactly. So one so one idea we had is to not only bootstrap our product here for the code, but maybe also for the Delta campus or any other co-working space that would be open to this. Yeah, we would buy maybe even used lockers or new lockers and then just refurbish them in order to sort of get our foot in the door with potential investors. Do you think maybe that's a good idea, or would you say the pitch deck is sufficient?
I would strongly recommend going this way. People want to see something, especially with the hardware startup. So the software startup, you can build anything anyways.
Yeah.
But as the hardware startup, you have to prove that you're able to build it.
Absolutely.
And, without customers, without a product, it's really hard to raise money.
Yeah.
So I would definitely go down the practical road and really work on that as long as you can, because you will learn as much as possible out of it, and then use this knowledge not only to gain your first customers, but also to really convince your investors. And something that I really love about the founders I'm investing in is that they are all really dedicated to their product. I don't invest in CVs. I invest in founders that really love their product, that own their product, that are able to rebuild it. And when you give them feedback, they come up with a new solution overnight.
Yep.
This is what I love about founders. And this is what I want to see when I'm investing, to have a founder that is really responding to my feedback, but my feedback is only a proxy for its adaptability. So it's not about what I'm thinking about it, but what the speed of the founder is to adapt to new information that is out there. And as soon as you get into interactions with your customers, you get feedback.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard, the feedback you get. So my first startup was with farmers. They yelled at me. My first customer interview was in a slaughterhouse, was a butcher, blood all over the place. I was there with my, back then, management consulting shoes in my dress, and I was like, okay, hi, I think I need to adapt, so I need to get something new to dress. But this is just an anecdote that shows that you really need to feel your customers and be on eye level with them. So I would, rather than talking to VCs, talk to customers.
Absolutely.
And then later down the road, use this experience from the real world to convince VCs. And maybe you're a bit slower in raising your first round then, but you will raise more at a better valuation with better investors, because you have real feedback, real traction, and not just a made-up pitch deck.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
Of course, you should also have a brilliant pitch deck.
Of course. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if you have customers, you don't need a pitch deck. You could show them an Excel sheet and have the investors. Quite simple things then.
But is that like, because when I was sort of preparing for this podcast a little bit, I got the message today that we're going to be doing this. But I think one thing that really interests me is, regardless of the idea, right? Like, obviously you guys invest in good ideas, I understand, but you also invest in founding teams in the end of all of it. Adaptability, you said, is sort of one of the driving factors. Maybe what's one more thing that you guys really see this personality trait the founder has to have, and then I might consider investing in them?
You need to show duration, and you need to stick to something. It's very, very easy to switch always. You have so many opportunities, and it's really hard to be successful if you always switch. You have to stick to something.
Show resilience, personal resilience. So, like founding a company is more than a marathon. I think it's an ultra marathon always for everyone. So of course there are kind of those few exceptions, but you really have to carry on one and on the same thing for years, and you have to face a lot of downs, more downs than ups. We only see the ups usually in the media. We don't see the downs, and we also don't want to see the downs, obviously, because if we would see the downs, nobody would found companies anymore. However, if there is a founding team that is kind of interested in this shiny VC world, I won't invest.
Yeah.
It's about getting your own hands dirty, about, well, blood, sweat, and tears, and doing this for a very, very long time. And so this is, yeah, I think we completely agree on what we're looking at. It's not the pitch deck. It's also not the numbers, by the way. So it's, of course, there need to be numbers that are interesting enough to bet on them, but they will change anyhow. So you definitely need, oftentimes you need to change your business model like once, twice, 3 times, even more. But the potential must be stellar, not the numbers today.
No. I mean, like one thing that you said was quite interesting was like resilience, right? To be able to stick with one idea. And I'm not going to drop any names, but one thing that I see often at Code is that there's some that are quite opportunistic. You know, like they have their fingers in maybe 5 different startups. And to some degree, it makes sense. You know, like 5 different startups means 5 great ideas. You know, like how do you guys think people should deal with that if one startup comes and says, hey, don't you want to join my company as a, I don't know, mentor or advisor or anything? Is it smart to have your fingers in 5 different startups, or?
I think both things are right. It's very important to have as many opportunities as possible. That's one side. But at one point in time, we have to decide what's the rocket ship I go on board and I stick with it.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. So it's easy to have many opportunities, but it's very hard to decide for the right one.
And then you really need to have a crew with which you can really fight back and well, live through the hard times of entrepreneurship too, and not leave at this point. So this is something that that also makes it possible to have like a founding team and not just one founder. Yeah. Because usually when you are just one founder, you end up pretty alone with your problems. Maybe you have a family and friends that are supporting you, but they will only understand the reality of funding a company to a certain extent. And they might love you. They might might want to bring you, lift you up, but they don't experience the things that you experience every day. They don't get this, yes, it's brilliant, but every day, and at a certain point they will give their best advice and say, well, just leave it. If nobody is buying it, if nobody is investing it, just leave it, because they want to protect you. Right. But you need people around you that say, no, we go beyond this. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No. I mean, it's actually quite interesting you say that. Sure, we've had our ups and downs so far in our 2 months, but none have been so bad that we sort of doubted our existence or our bankruptcy.
That will come.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but it's quite interesting you say that about the part of just willing to fight back. At the Berlin auf die Eins event, like I talked to a very established founder, like I'm not going to name drop, and sort of we talked and said like I really like what you're doing, and then he asked, what do you do? And I told him about the idea. He seemed very interested, and asked very engaging questions. And then a day after was the START event at the Google office here in Berlin. He was part of the panel discussion, and he dissed us sort of in in front of the whole crowd and said, like I talked to this one founder yesterday at the Code University. He's doing like some cute locker storage idea. You guys have to think bigger. You guys aren't thinking big enough. And that was like sort of a part where I said, oh, that's not good. You know, that's not great to hear. But I'm really happy of how my team and I handled it. You know, we said, okay, it's a small slap in the face, but that just means he's not our ideal customer. If he doesn't see the vision of it, then that's fine, you know, then he's not our customer. And I'm actually very proud of my team and I on how we handled that. Yeah.
And I would really contradict that, since it's, in my opinion, it's much better to focus on a very small market and try to own this market worldwide, for instance. It's much better business than compared with the red ocean where everybody is. So it's specializing in something is really a mode at the end. Nobody can put a better lock if you already own the space.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's quite interesting you say that, because one of the things maybe I also wanted to ask you guys is, so many investors I've spoken to have said, guys, it's a cool idea, but you guys aren't thinking big enough. The target audience is too small. And then other people I talk to say, you guys are focusing on too many things. You know, you have A, B, C, and D. Focus on A now. You know, make that yours and sort of own it. Bring it as big as you can, and then focus on B, whatever B may be. You know, let it be the second feature or whatever. How do you guys sort of talk to startups that have a similar problem, that say, on the one hand, investors are saying the company or the customer base is too small, but on the other, they're saying focus on a niche.
Yeah, but these are totally different groups of people. If we speak to an early stage investor like me, I know that a typical exit in Germany is between 30 and 40 million. Mm-hmm. That means it's a small market probably. It's not a big market. Yeah. So that's one thing. But if I were to have a large venture fund, let's say 100 million, I must bet on really big outcomes. Absolutely. I must bet on the unicorns. This can only happen in really huge markets. Mm. So there are totally different incentives for your investors at this point in time. So it's not the same thing. If I would own a venture company, I would say you go to the United States and conquer a 40 billion market. Yeah. Go now. Yeah. But as an early stage angel, I would say, hey, there are so many niche markets and the attractive exit is 30 to 40 million. Mm. I invest in you in a low evaluation and can make a 30 times return on it. It's quite fine for me. It's not enough for a venture company.
Yeah. It's always the battle you choose. Yeah. Right. So exactly as Roland just pointed out, you need the right investor for your business case. Mm. And you don't need to be everybody's darling in the end. Of course, if I were a big VC company, I wouldn't invest at this stage. But that doesn't mean that you can make a fortune out of it and that you can change the world with it. So that I have no Amtrak moments anymore. Yeah. and a lot of other people are freed from their luggage. So it's almost a moment of deliberation that you're offering there. So the question is with whom you fight this battle. Mm. So find the investors that fit your business model and also find the customers that first adapt to your way of solving the problem. Of course, there is an optimal VC mode of building a company. So Rocket Internet tried to come up with this 100 days plan 10 years ago when I was founding companies. That was kind of the hottest shit. So you have this kind of Rocket Internet plan and then you just launch your company following this 100-day. How many real big companies came out of that 100-day plan? Well, a couple, yeah, but a lot did not. Mm-hmm. And a lot of founders, which were brilliant afterwards because they failed on that 100-day plan, came up with new ideas and then founded great companies anyhow because they learned how to fail based on that plan. So there is not one solution to solving an entrepreneurial question. Yeah. There are a lot, and you have to explore the answer that is working in the very moment you are trying to solve this. So I wouldn't recommend like solving B before A. Yeah. I would recommend trying different options and going with the one that is the most promising. Mm. And if you only have the capacity for A, well then try it with A. Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, one thing that you said was quite interesting, the 100-day plan. And if you think of it, 100 days, founding a startup from start to finish, let's just say, it's not a lot of time. Yeah. And because both of you invest in early stage startups, I think one thing that would interest me is the topic like speed versus quality. I mean, like there's this sort of nice story of like the tortoise versus the rabbit racing, and in the end, the tortoise still wins. I feel like especially in a pre-seed, oftentimes, myself included, but I'm also talking, I think, for other startups, have this problem of saying, okay, do I go for speed or do I go for quality? Or I mean, I can imagine there's a mix between both, but it's always easier said than done. What do you guys usually say to the startups that you guys are investing in? Is it speed or is it quality, or how is it a mix of both?
Go for speed in the moment you have found the sweet spot. So look for the sweet spot on a minimal viable product basis as long as possible. Be as cheap as possible and as cautious on expenditures as possible, as long as you can.
Yeah.
And then this one moment will come where you know, okay, now it's time, and then you go for speed.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of structures that can support you, that can lift you up. There's a wide network here at Code University of founders that know which GmbH contract to use, which lawyer to ask, where to incorporate, where to build your first office, how to hire your first people. So this is then kind of the execution part, where you can be fast, but you can only execute fast on something that works.
Right.
And here you need to be cautious. So you have to take the time, and if it takes long, well, it takes long.
Yeah, it's really, I think speed is also important at the beginning. If you need speed for testing things quickly, you want to fail quickly. You want to, out of the 10 things, you would try to test everything, and maybe one works. So you need speed for this.
Yeah.
And you can sacrifice quality. If something is looking bad, it doesn't matter at the end. If it's not working, if it's looking bad, it's also not working if it's nice. So don't focus on optics, all over your ads, for instance. Do it quickly. That's much more important at the beginning. But at the end, it's like you said, you can't scale bullshit. You have to need something that's working if you invest in scaling.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you have to do it somewhat sort of with the right team, And I think one thing that many startups also face, especially when their idea is cool and not some complex idea that people don't understand, or it's very niche, is the topic of hiring, right? So in my case, I've gotten so many messages of people sort of saying, cool product, cool idea, can we join? Let it be the software side, let it be the marketing side, hardware side. Of course, in the end, they all want a piece of the cake. I get it. But what do you guys sort of tell startups when, for one, the idea is cool and everyone else wants to be a part of it? Do you say to them, no, only take the people that you guys really need and that really bring you guys to the front? Or how do you guys deal with this?
Yeah, it's having more people is no problems. You only have much more communication.
Yeah.
So it's the smaller the teams, the better, I would say. Not being alone is important, but everything more than 2 people at the beginning is not necessary.
Yeah.
I completely agree on that.
Yeah.
And you soon become a manager of your own startup, but you should be working on your idea and not managing people. This is something that other people can do for you later down the road. And sometimes when you're a founder of a company, you have to do it because you like money by yourself. But there are professionals on that, and it's much smarter to wait for the right moment to let professionals join your team. I think I'm pretty good at product and developing ideas and coming up with concepts, but leading people, I don't know.
Yeah.
Doing administrations, I definitely know I'm not good at it. And this all comes when you let people in, and then you have discussions about who gets what share, and is it equal or isn't it, and who and shall we go for VSOPs or FASOPs and stuff? No, you concentrate on your product, build it, and then you can discuss it.
And it's only going from bad to worse.
Yeah.
After the company, everything gets much more complicated, slow down, complex, annoying, and all this stuff. It's not getting better.
Yeah.
So if you could kind of look into the future, what is Keeper doing in 2 years?
In 2 years, I think the same, or the thing in reality that I had planned when I started it, to help as many travelers as possible. What that means in practice is that we are not only in private locations, but also public locations across Germany, ideally across Europe. But let's stick to 2 years saying we're dominating the German market when it comes to luggage storage, helping as many tourists and travelers or people with baggage as possible. Yeah, that's where I see us in 2 years. Not exiting, not making a bunch of money, but solving a problem. That's also the reason why I started it, and that's the reason why I'm going to keep going.
I would be interested to know who is the current supplier of Deutsche Bahn for these boxes?
So what they have is a mechanism from like the 1990s. They haven't replaced it ever since. I could find the company, come back to you. I don't have the exact name in mind. Quite interesting about the DB though is that they know that the problem exists, right? They two or 3 weeks ago they released a paper pretty much saying they're actively looking for startups to solve this problem. They know that this problem is long overdue, you know, and what they're doing now is finding startups that are trying to solve this problem.
So are you applying?
Yeah, we already did. Obviously we're still small, so we're more going towards the DB Mindbox, right? The accelerator program of the DB to get our foot in the door through there. But we're definitely applying and we're going to see where it goes. Yeah. But it's just a sign for us that the need, even from the Deutsche Bahn, is there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, we have learned a lot today.
I completely agree.
It was fun decoding the future together with the two of you. And I'm looking forward to host you in 2 years and learn how Europe was deliberated from the luggage problem.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for all the insights. I really appreciate it.